We will not buy the F-35 fighter jet.
The most advanced fighter plane in the United States, the F-35 finds itself in the center of a big dilemma. Concerns about the claimed kill switch, the possibility that the United States could remotely disable the aircraft in a crisis, are driving Canada and several European nations to rethink their faith in the aircraft.
And Canada's new Prime Minister Mark Carney used his first official overseas trip to meet with the leaders of Britain and France, seeking support from old allies as relations with the US sour.
Prime Minister Mark Carney ordered a review of Canada's contract to buy 88 F-35 fighter jets, says he looks to build new security relationships that are outside of our relationship with the US.
Thomas, I think fascinating because it's not just Canada, right? Some other countries are also reviewing their contracts to buy these very expensive fighter jets from the U.S. over trade concerns.
The shift in U.S. security policy not only has allies in Europe scrambling to increase their defense spending, it also raises uncomfortable questions about their dependency on American weapons already in their arsenal.
This debate arises at a period when military concerns, changing geopolitics, and trade pressures are driving NATO allies to investigate alternatives. One such choice, the Saab Gripen, was a close rival in the extended procurement process, finally resulting in the F-35's choice. With unmatched stealth capabilities, supersonic speed, and a flexible battle range, the F-35 is hailed as among the most advanced fighter planes ever produced. Designed as a multi-role jet able to carry out a wide range of missions, from air superiority to close air support and intelligence collection, developed by Lockheed Martin. Notwithstanding its technological developments, the aircraft has been under constant criticism over its dependability, expense, and consequences of depending on American management. Several countries have reevaluated existing agreements due to the supposed kill switch, which would let the United States remotely destroy the aircraft during times of crisis, seriously question sovereignty and operational autonomy. Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada has directed Canada's Defence Ministry to review the intended acquisition of 88 F-35s, costing $19 billion. Carney's action draws attention to mounting worries about Pentagon control of the aircraft and how it would affect Canada's defensive posture. Originally, the need to update Canada's aging fleet and guarantee fit for NATO troops drove the need to acquire such a large number of aircraft. Carney has underlined, nevertheless, that Canada's military procurement plan must also give top priority to bolstering the country's own defense industry, particularly in light of growing calls for military independence within Europe and mounting doubts on the Trump administration's relationship with NATO. The changing character of world trade ties adds still another level of complexity to the matter. With several foreign partners, including Canada, who have extensively invested in the F-35 program, the US defense sector has revolved around this program as its pillar. The US has used its military technological superiority to strengthen defense relations with its allies, but the present environment makes these connections more precarious. Military self-reliance is becoming ever more critical as Canada and other NATO countries review their defense needs. The current conflict in Ukraine gives these conversations more relevance. Several members of NATO are debating the appropriateness of depending too much on the United States for their defense needs as nations face growing pressure to offset Russia's aggressiveness in Eastern Europe. Although the F-35 is seen as a necessary part of NATO's collective defense plan, many are looking at substitutes because worries about its operational autonomy and economy of cost. Recent remarks made by US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth imply that Washington no longer gives European security primary attention. This has led to increased disquiet inside NATO, with some member nations wondering whether their defense plans should stay tightly tied to US interests. Whether the F-35 will become a symbol of a greater divide between the United States and its allies, or if the aircraft will remain a necessary weapon for world security begs a big issue. Re-evaluating Canada's F-35 commitment marks a turning point in the continuous discussion on the aircraft's future. Originally chosen to replace Canada's aged fleet of CF-18 Hornet fighter planes, the F-35 was meant to guarantee interoperability with the US and NATO. Carney has changed his mind about the program, though, given worries over the Pentagon's authority over the software and maintenance of the planes. Red flags in Ottawa have been raised by the claimed kill switch problem. Critics contend that Canada's reliance on the United States for operational control of the aircraft and software upgrades compromises the nation's sovereignty. Carney specifically worries that depending on the United States for maintenance and upgrades could compromise Canada's capacity to independently run its military forces, especially in geopolitically sensitive periods. The erratic policies of the Trump government and the developing isolationist inclinations in American foreign policy add to this disquiet. Apart from security issues, there are major financial consequences of postponing the F-35 agreement. Participating in the F-35 program, over 110 Canadian companies have supplied parts, components, and services. For many of these industries, the F-35 contract offers a key source of money and jobs. Carney has shown interest in investigating substitutes, especially European-made combat planes. But the financial fallout from cutting the F-35 may be significant. In response to Canada's worries, Lockheed Martin has promised to increase employment there should the acquisition go forward. The corporation has promised to progressively include Canadian businesses into the F-35 supply chain, therefore mitigating the economic impact of the deal cancellation. Notwithstanding these incentives, Canada's increasing desire in strengthening its own defense sector could finally cause it to go for a more autonomous route. The F-35 has also experienced rising resistance from some European countries, including Germany and Portugal. Both countries have expressed worries about the claimed remote deactivation mechanism of the aircraft, which they consider may expose them susceptible during a war. Key NATO member Germany is re-evaluating its F-35 jet arrangement in favor of alternatives such as the Eurofighter Typhoon, which Germany, the UK, and Italy have jointly built. Though seen as a more affordable choice, the Eurofighter Typhoon provides many of the same capabilities as the F-35. Portugal has adopted an even more firm posture, excluding the F-35 totally in favor of European-made substitutes. One fierce competitor is the flexible and reasonably priced Saab Gripen fighter plane. Although the Gripen lacks the F-35's stealth features, countries trying to cut their defense spending find longer range and lower running costs appealing. Portugal's choice to investigate substitutes is motivated not only by worries about the cost and operational restrictions of the F-35, but also by a wish to boost Europe's defense sector and lower reliance on the United States. With the Joint Program Office, JPO, angrily refuting any claims of a remote deactivation mechanism, Lockheed Martin has fiercely defended the F-35. The company's initiatives to answer these issues draw attention to the great stakes connected to the F-35 project. If NATO countries, especially those in Europe, decide to walk away from the F-35 in favor of indigenous or alternative choices, it might inflict a serious damage to the program's long-term survival. Portugal's choice is also in line with a larger European trend, whereby rising dissatisfaction with the US approach to NATO and defense policy results from the America First rhetoric of the Trump government has caused some European politicians to doubt if NATO remains a dependable guardian of European security. European countries are under more pressure as a result to develop their own defense industry and lessen reliance on American military technologies. Part of a larger change in European defense policy, the increasing curiosity in European substitutes for the F-35 reflects. The European Union is unambiguously committed to enhancing its defense capacity and lowering reliance on the United States. President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has urged more EU defense procurement, including air missile defense systems and unmanned aerial vehicle (UAV) spending. The aim is to establish a more self-sufficient European defense sector able to satisfy security needs on the continent without depending on the US for important technologies. Particularly, Germany is pushing for the Eurofighter program to be kept running and enlarged upon. Airbus insiders contend Berlin should cease buying the F-35 and concentrate on building its own capabilities to provide more strategic mobility and independence. Germany is heavily funding other defense initiatives, like the Boeing CH-47F Chinook helicopters and P-8A maritime patrol aircraft, even although it has already promised to buy 35 F-35 jets. The F-35's future in Germany is still unknown since the nation tries to combine its NATO responsibilities with its need for more domestic autonomy over its defense policy. This change toward European substitutes for the F-35 reflects a larger geopolitical trend as Europe aims to establish more control in its defense plans. European countries are increasingly focused on developing their own defense capabilities and strengthening stronger relations with one another, as growing questions about the dependability of the US as a security partner, especially under the Trump administration, raise cause for concern. This trend has the potential to reshape the global defense landscape, with significant implications for the future of the F-35 and its place in NATO's strategic vision. The F-35 has been under constant criticism for its excessive cost even with its technological might. Each jet costs between $50 million and $100 million, depending on the variation, and the program's total cost has approached $1.5 trillion, making it one of the most expensive military programs in history. Apart from the initial purchase cost, maintenance and operational expenses of the F-35 raise questions, especially considering the aircraft depends on US authority for software upgrades and spare components. The hefty cost of the F-35 is proving increasingly difficult to defend for many governments, including Canada and some European states. Some governments are wondering if the F-35 best uses their defense funds in a period of economic uncertainty and mounting worries on defense expenditure, particularly if NATO nations keep moving toward more autonomy in their defense policies. The aircraft's reliance on the United States for maintenance and logistical support also begs questions regarding the long-term survival of the program. For the United States and its allies, the F-35 is still absolutely vital component of military strategy. Still, several nations are re-evaluating their obligations as mounting worries over its cost, control systems, and reliance on the United States call for change. The argument over alternative aircraft choices and the future of European military industry independence will only get more heated as Lockheed Martin and the US government reply to these problems. Whether the F-35 can remain the top fighter plane in the world, or if fresh geopolitical variables will change the scene of world defense, will depend on the next years. The destiny of the F-35 hangs in the balance as Europe advocates more autonomy in defense manufacturing. Its fate will probably be decided by a complicated interaction of political, financial, and strategic factors. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through geopolitics and military strategy. Make sure you subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for more groundbreaking insights. Now it's your turn. Tell us what you think about Canada's historic defense pivot in the comments below.